are all product of our time. Never perhaps such words collectively meant their truest as the times that we live through now. Never before in living memory of its 187 years of existence has the Bengal Chamber witnessed a world so united in crisis, created not by wars, but by the global susceptibility to a virus of pandemic proportions. Yet, your chamber, as an institution and as a business collective, has worked and stood through unprecedented times brought forth by the viral pandemic and the devastating super cyclone, rallying all of us not only towards survival, but equipping us in being ready for life and business in the next normal. Just as Tagore said, if you cry because the sun has gone out of your life, your tears will prevent you from seeing the stars. The need is to adopt sustainability, adapt new measures, and practice the new economics of innovation-led progress to turn over a new leaf. Again, as the poet said, you can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. And so, we got down to work. The Chamber's yardstick of operations is usually measured by the number, relevance, and contextuality of its programs and activities. If a chest full of 110 events puts the stamp on quantity, the qualitative aspects of our program-led and results-oriented activities are certified by the way they have been received by the audience, professionals, and stakeholders from different geographies attending in impressive numbers in person before the pandemic and virtually since then. The year has hit us hard, and your chamber rose to the occasion.
চেম্বার অফ কমার্স থেকে আজকে 500 বেনিফিশিয়ারির জন্য পিপল, ড্রাই ফ্রুটস, বিস্কিট, এছাড়া সোলার ল্যান্টেন, মেডিসিন, এই সমস্ত জিনিস তারা নিয়ে এসছেন, নিজে হাতে নিয়ে এসে এখানে দিয়েছেন। কিছু জিনিস এই স্পটে দেওয়া হয়েছে, রামগঙ্গায় যে মানুষ যারা এফেক্টেড হয়েছে বাঁধ ভাঙায় বন্যার ফলে সেই মানুষের হাতে তুলে দিয়েছেন। কিছু জিনিস আমার ব্লক অফিসে রাখা আছে, যেটা দূরবর্তী অঞ্চলে আমরা পাঠানোর ব্যবস্থা করবো আগামীকালই। তাদের এই শুভ উদ্যোগের জন্য রামগঙ্গার সমস্ত পাথরপ্রতিমা অঞ্চলের সমস্ত অধিবাসীর পক্ষ থেকে, ব্লক প্রশাসনের পক্ষ থেকে সকলকে ধন্যবাদ।
If this was not enough, the sustained work undertaken during lockdown, supporting our government and the citizens was a part and parcel of our operational existence. As the days rolled into weeks, which spilled into months, your chamber embraced the new normal as the new walk of life. The Bengal Chamber, with its managing committee and the expert committees, under guidance of the past presidents and with overwhelming support from the membership and all stakeholders from near and far, embarked on a journey in which geographical barriers and distances were nullified. Digital and virtual became the realities of the day. This seamless transformation of bringing together people from all corners of the globe, addressing core issues of business, health, social and economic aspects is captured in a montage. What we have experienced is that our pre-pandemic and post-pandemic programs may have been held on different platforms, but the intensity of engagement from participants has only strengthened over these 100 plus activities. The learnings were aplenty.
We will have to work in terms of taxation, in terms of policies for transfers to the poor. And I want to, though I'm saying that right now we cannot be obsessed with those big long-term changes, we have to worry about that very, very quickly, because the level of inequality we have in India is unacceptable and we have to work on that.
I know the NEP talks about it, and I'm totally in favor of having more of our foundational education in Indian languages. And there needs to be a way of making sure that this is done even in elite schools. Otherwise, we'll end up with a two-track country. However, while the theory of this is good, the practice of it, however, needs to be thought about from a very basic perspective, which is that the textbooks and curriculums in Indian languages need to be radically upgraded and updated.
The SWOT analysis, which has been done by the chamber, it mentioned that credit is a major issue. Now, with this growth in the credit, which has been witnessed in the state, this is a problem.
The critical verticals of the economy and business were blended with talk shops and programs on a plethora of subjects. Even the Chamber's signature activities were held for a global audience with participation climbing into several thousands.
We are moving from a consumer era to a post-consumer era. I mean, we had excesses in our lives, in our behavior, in our spending. But now we are all going to look towards for health and a better balance in what we are going to do.
We are doing certain things in order to be part of the region, but not adequate. It's not making the impact, because a lot of this is G2G, government to government, not enough P2P, people to people, and certainly not enough B2B, business to business. And relationships today in the modern world are less and less about G2G. They are more and more about B2B and P2P.
So we want to have a national depository of knowledge, national practice for each and every item which is being imported in this country.
We are hoping to advance 5 key campaigns to support the reduction of emissions. We want to support a campaign on the transition to clean energy, and India is leading the world in many ways with its 450 gigawatts commitment on solar energy. The switch to clean transport, and I think there are huge opportunities for India to lead this work in this sector, particularly for 2- and 3-wheeled vehicles. A campaign on nature-based solutions to demonstrate how mangroves like Sundarban can not only, protecting mangroves like the Sundarban can not only help protect communities and help them be more resilient to the effects of climate change, but can also help serve as a carbon sink to mitigate climate change itself. Work on adaptation and resilience, which is particularly important in neighbouring Bangladesh, for example, and other low-lying areas prone to flooding. And then underpinning all of that, work on finance.
2 principal focus areas, especially during this time, are people and health. On both, the Chamber has communicated learnings, best practices, and even advisories over and over again to the community at large, going much beyond the immediate business fraternity.
concept of herd immunity is when you have random spread of a factor and there is 60 to 70% of individuals who are unable to be affected by that factor, that constitutes herd immunity. And if we're all people and the virus infects people, then whether it's a herd in the US or a herd in India, the herd is the herd, right? It's worldwide, but the development and the speed with which immunity develops, that is locally dependent, right? So wherein we in the United States have taken social distancing in some areas to heart, and people have been in their homes for weeks, herd immunity is actually developing very slowly, but in those areas, infection rates are going down. We recognize that eventually we will develop 70% of people who are immune, and that will allow us to save lives, not just because you infect less people per se, but it's because the resources to treat those people become available when they get infected.
Life goes on. Setbacks are always temporary. We fall because we can pick ourselves up again. The Chamber believes that lives and livelihoods are and will be the defining features of this normal that we are living through. In this journey, we have focused as much on addressing the business ecosystem as we have on celebrating life.
আবিষ্কারের খাবার এই যে ইনিশিয়েটিভটা, এটা আপনারা সকলে দেখতেই পাচ্ছেন প্রায় উৎসবে পরিণত হয়েছে, এবং এটাই আমাদের ইচ্ছে ছিল যে এত ধরনের মানুষ, এত ধরনের খাবার, এত ধরনের রান্নাবান্না প্রত্যেক দিন এরা করে, এবং এদের কোনো স্বীকৃতি নেই সেই অর্থে। হ্যাঁ, আমরা জানি যে আবিষ্কারায় খুব ভালো খাবার পাওয়া যায়, কিন্তু আজকে সাধারণ মানুষ সবাই বাইরে থেকে এসে সবাই মিলে খাচ্ছে। বেঙ্গল চেম্বার অফ কমার্স থেকে এই ইনিশিয়েটিভটা আমরা নিতে পেরেছি, তার জন্য খুব ভালো লাগছে, এবং সাধারণ মানুষ এইভাবে সাড়া দিয়েছেন, তার জন্য অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
Hello. You can hear me? Okay. So, hello everybody. Welcome you all to day 2 of the 11th edition of the Bengal Chambers Business IT Conclave. We have very interesting sessions today in sync with the overarching theme of this year, that is technology for humans. The first session is on technology for future capacity building, for which we have the speakers already with us. The second session would be digital economy and its dynamics. The third would be on health tech. The fourth would be technologies for power to make it more abundant, efficient, and eco-friendly in connection with SDG 7. So thank you all for joining us online in our webcast and across the social media platforms. With your support and cooperation, we had around 23,000 viewers on our day 1 on 27th of November. Here we go for the day 2. Starting the first session, that is session on technologies for future capacity building. The session will be moderated by Mr. Sanjay Sen, who is the co-chairperson of the IT Committee of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Senior Vice President ITC Infotech India Limited. As speakers, we have Mr. Akshay Chaturvedi, founder and CEO, Leverage AU, Dr. Emmanuel Severett, User Research and Digital Strategy Director, Analyze Concept Limited, UK, Mr. Simarpreet Singh, Director, JIS Group. With this, I request Mr. Sanjay Sen to take the session forward.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this 11th edition of Business IT Conclave. While it's a pity that we are meeting virtually, it's also an opportunity that we are able to meet multiple people cutting across the borders. This COVID, this 2020 has taken away a lot of things from us, but it has also it has pushed us to the age. We have been performing from an age which we have never thought of. It's redefining the rules of delivery. The delivery, be it your service or products. The question was, before 2020, we used to ask that who is leading the digital transformation in your organization, whether it's the CEO or the CFO, or some organizations as the digital leads. But it goes back to the age-old saying, necessity is the mother of all inventions. This COVID has put us back in terms of economy. We had various societal challenges. We had challenges where people have to migrate back to their homelands. There has been a lot of suffering. Hence, it requires new way of handling, the new normal, what we say. It requires new way of looking at things and new way of supporting the society. Earlier, is pandemic the first time? No, this pandemic is not the first time. There has been the Spanish flus of the world, but we never traveled at that time. Maybe that's why we were saved. But today, we are not bounded by our geographical boundaries. That also opens up a huge opportunity. An opportunity, if you say the massive open online courses, the MOOCs of the world, the crowdsourcing of educators, the disruptive things which are essential. To take all those things, we have a panel of eminent speakers today, persons who are in their own right redefined the space that they're working. People who are working now moved from villages, from cities to small towns, students who are suffering, who doesn't know how to handle this uncertainty, they require counseling. Everyone, everywhere requires counseling because you don't know what is ahead of you. To address this, that how do we scale up this huge challenge? How do we reach to infinite India? How do we address our 1.3 crore, 130 crore population? How do we tell them? How do we speak to them? How do we address them? We have none other than Akshay. Akshay, as Angana told you, is the founder and CEO of Leverage Edu. They specialize in that. I don't want to take time off from him. It's over to Akshay, please.
No, cool. Thank you so much, sir, I think, for those words. And I think, first of all, thank you to everybody. I think it's great to kind of be joining this panel. Thank you to BITC as well. And I think I absolutely align with the thought process that you've put out, right? This is a great time for us to be also reflecting back on what changes had to be done since forever, right? Like, I think this is a good time for us to press the reset button on so many things, which probably would have taken a decade more to kind of get reinvented. Probably if you would have been reinventing the wheel again and again on the same bits and pieces. But I think I would look at this pandemic positively. I would look at it with a lot of optimism and think about how it's given us a chance, an opportunity to kind of reset a lot of things very quickly. So in the limited time that I have today, I think in the monologue that I get for about 10 to 15 minutes, before we kind of dive into panel discussion, or happy to kind of answer any questions towards the latter part of the chat. I would just like to kind of start off with what we are doing and how we are solving this. And second, given I understand the majority of folks watching this today are students, I would like to bundle up. I've kind of written down some stuff. I'll have bundled up some advice on how I think you should go about building a career for yourself in the 2020s and the 2030s, and I'll kind of lay some emphasis on that. So first and foremost, at Leverage2, we are a career guidance and higher education advisory company. We are based out of we are present in 36 cities today. We do about close to 60,000 plus counselings every single month. We do it in about close to 12 languages in India, and it's done across multiple. What we've done essentially to automate is we have always built multiple product loops and content loops. So as students, you can interact with us without ever talking to us by looking at our YouTube channels, by reading our blogs, by just going onto our website, www.leverage2.com, and typing in a question there in the search toolbar. You can interact with us by going through our assessments, which will help you understand what's the right career trajectory for you, by understanding based on your personality, what could be the right university for you, what could be the right direction that you need to take, whether you're 18 or 21 or 24. So a bunch of those things. And then essentially, of course, 1:1 career counseling driven out by mentors from across the world. Built out a marketplace which brings about close to 2,800 mentors who are folks who have gone out and really been very triumphant in their life in different spheres. So it could be somebody who is pursuing music, fashion, journalism, technology, data science, photosynthesis, rocket science, whatnot, right? So people from hundreds of different professions who are spread across this entire country, spread across this entire world, who we basically bring to our marketplace. And then we're helping them give out these career advice, these career-related sets, essentially by using technology to the fore, right? So what I'm going to do, give me 1 second. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking a bit about, give me 1 second.
If we have lost Akshay in connectivity, I would request the moderator, would you consider moving on with this session? He's back. Fine. Thank you.
Internet. So the idea here is I'm just going to kind of sum up a bunch of things which I think are really going to be helpful to students as we move forward. I think what we've done largely is we've focused a lot on traditional methods. We've focused on helping people get right grades. We've kind of focused on helping people get the right degrees, which is not very relevant as you move into the next set of challenges, the next set of careers in 2020s and 2030, right? And so I'm going to talk about, say, 2 or 3 things which I think are going to be really helpful. I've put them in broad charts, and I'm going to kind of deep dive a bit into these as well. So the first one is how do you start building a personal brand for yourself? And you can start doing that by 2 things. One, by being very obsessive about learning. And second is by being brave and confident enough to go out and share those learnings with a wide variety of people. So when I say that I want to be very obsessive about my learning, what that means is, can I be somebody who outside my course material goes out and interacts with a lot of people, goes out and interacts with people who essentially are outside my area of interest, goes out and listens to a lot of podcasts. There's some amazing podcasts out there on different platforms, reads a lot of books, reads a lot of articles, and then sums up all of these learnings by writing them down in tools like Roam Research and other tools like that, where you're letting your personal life and your professional life interact with each other and kind of coming up with new ideas. And you're very unique self, and then you build out the confidence to go out and write these ideas. So possibly talk about them on social media, possibly blog about these ideas on YouTube, possibly make a small learning series on a TikTok or any of the short form video formats. And what you'll actually start doing is you'll start building a tribe around yourself, where you say that more people start to relate with what I feel is the right way to go about things, and I start building a personal monopoly for myself. So if you think about the direction in which we're headed, we are going to have more unique perspective. We're going to have people who see themselves as creators or artists. We're not in the industrial revolution era anymore, where we need a lot of factory workers who are told to do the exact same thing in the exact same direction. That was the way we have essentially been taught, the way we've essentially been kind of brought up up till here, I think till the late 2010s, is where we said that, okay, tell us what to do in a specific manner, and we'll go about and kind of do those things. but we are moving in a direction where all of us should think ourselves as aspiring artists or aspiring athletes, where we are really obsessive about what we are doing here. We're really kind of thinking about how do I build a personal brand for myself, where I think that, hey, I could go out and create a living for myself, even if I'm just really, really good at one core thing, which I'm the best at in the world. And how do you identify what specific thing you are best at? You do that by having different ideas and different things that you're doing in your life intersect with each other. I'll give you an example of this. I'm like a lot of folks in the late 20s, early 30s, I'm a big fan of the OTT platforms. And I was watching this show on Netflix called Black Mirror. And in one of the episodes on Black Mirror, I saw this concept of simulation, right? Where this couple goes out and they try to simulate what their life should look like if they were to date each other, if they were to marry each other. And that essentially gave me an idea that, hey, what if we could essentially do this in the realm of careers, right? What if I, at the age of 18 or 21, I could use technology to simulate what could a career in marketing look like? What could a career in finance look like? Could I essentially think about what the next 3 years could look like by putting a headphone around myself and spending 1 hour or spending 1.5 hours? So essentially assessment 3.0, right? And I put my thoughts together and I put out a LinkedIn status, which went out, which became absolutely viral, which had about 1,000 plus likes, multiple shares. And I had somebody reach out to me who said that, hey, you know what? I'm building something like this. I'm an IIT Delhi alumnus. I'm building something like this. And this is what I've done in the last 3 years. And I would love for you to give me an opportunity to kind of discuss it. And we ended up discussing it. And now I'm essentially funding that person's business. And I became an early investor in that business. So this only happened because I was letting different parts of my life intersect with each other and building a different thought process because of it. And then I was also essentially being very confident and being vulnerable about sharing those thoughts outside on the platforms. Now, this could be in the written form, this could be in the video form or whatnot. So I think it's really important that we start thinking about building a personal brand. And we start thinking of ourselves as learning obsessed machines, which can essentially which will really help us become artists in some sense and not be that factory worker which was trained for the industrialization 1.0 era back in the 19th or the 20th century. Another thing which I think is really useful to a lot of people when they're choosing careers, I think a lot of us go for things which are either hot in some sense, or we go for the highest salary paying job, or we go for things which are essentially something which our friend is doing or something which our relatives are telling us. But I think it's very important that you start putting a framework together for what you want to do in your career. And I have a ready framework which I essentially say you should be thinking about. So you divide it into market and team. So before you're entering any industry, so for example, when Sanjay sir's introduction was happening and I was kind of wondering, he would have spent a lot of time in this organization to essentially reach the absolute pinnacle and be the highest form of that of a certain organization which essentially is giving shareholders crazy returns year by year and is one of the most successful iconic companies of our times. But if I am making that choice today, can I make that choice by saying that I want to be associated to a market which I really identify with? Do I identify with this company? Do I identify with this company's vision and values? Do I identify with this company's long-term approach? And at the same time, do I identify with this company's team? Do I want to associate on long-term ideas with long-term people? And when we start thinking about our careers, when we start thinking about something that we're starting up in those senses, if we start building a framework around it, I think it can be really very valuable for us to build the right foundation for our careers in the first couple of years. I think that in turn leads to great things as you move forward, because we've seen it so many times that the best set of people who get early advantages in the careers are those who built out the first 5 formative years of the career in a very foundational way by learning a lot of foundational skills which are really, really important. So that's the second one. And I'll hopefully cover more if there are any questions. But one last thing that I wanted to kind of cover in this monologue of sorts, when I've talked about a lot of soft stuff that students focus on, at the same time, some hard skills you should learn versus focusing on a lot of random stuff while you're in college, while you are kind of preparing to get ready for the real world. And the first one there is, like I said, writing as much as possible, write as much as you can, possibly read, listen, and just kind of make sure that you write as much as you can. Second one is building ads, right? I think this is so underrated, but with whatever you're doing in the future. So one of my mentors is this guy who's a vice president at Unilever. And if you think of it, the Unilever business model has changed so rapidly where they don't invest so much in a Shah Rukh Khan or a Shilpa Shetty or a whatever actor and actress sitting in a bathtub and talking about Lux or talking about some other brand. But they're now focusing on how do I reach this consumer digitally? How do I ensure that this person is interacting with my brand in a digital first fashion on an everyday basis in the right efficient cost? So something which is so complex, something on which millions of dollars are being spent, can essentially be learned by you by spending 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 odd rupees by starting something really small, as simple as selling a pen or as simple as kind of selling a notebook and just building Facebook ads or Google ads for it. It's such a simple, underrated skill. But if you essentially get this right in your formative years while you're in college, I think that's absolutely great. The third one there is how do you build SEO on how do you essentially build content which can be viral on different platforms. And possibly 10 years back, this used to be only Google. We're moving to a world where if you think about some of the most successful people out there in their 20s or 30s, right? Kylie Jenner and so many other folks who have built out great D2C brands which directly go out and interact with people and build some familiarity with them. So can I essentially go out and build popularity on multiple platforms? Can I build viral content on multiple platforms? And that is not restricted to Google anymore. That is, so think of it, in India, there are more searches on Amazon than on Google today. So Amazon has become the new mecca of search in some sense. Can I go out and build more virality on some of these upcoming platforms? Like there is a platform called Mitro, there's a platform called Josh. There are so many essentially stages being set out. There are people who are doing TEDx talks, there are people doing Josh talks. There's something like this, right? The college podiums which are essentially waiting for different stories to be told. So can I essentially go out and build some followership? Can I essentially go out and build some virality in terms of what I'm doing? And the last one there is, if very early on in my life, I can build the basic knowledge around 3 subjects. And this is something I think I've learned by making a lot of mistakes in my career as an entrepreneur, as a first generation entrepreneur, which is accounting, tax, and law. And I think these are such small things, and we think that somebody else will come and take care of it for us. But just being very thorough in terms of understanding the basic foundational concepts of how accounts move, how taxation moves. If you were on the right side of understanding GST when it was implemented in this country, life would have played very differently for you. If you were on the right side of understanding, for example, even farmers right now, right, to pick up a controversial topic, farmers who understand the right side of this law are really reaping benefits at the moment. So just building some foundational nuggets or knowledge points on some of these topics can be really beneficial in the longer run. So I'll just kind of summarize what I said in some sense. I spoke about, of course, the need for you to understand what's the right career for you, what direction you're headed towards. That's something that we do at Leverage do. But over and above that, what I really wanted to kind of, I wanted to make sure that if students are watching this today, they take some learnings back home. And hence, I spoke about the importance of building a personal brand for yourself in the 2020s. How you being an obsessive learning machine, accessing a lot of curated content, be it in the form of podcasts or stories or articles or essentially meeting different people, is going to be a source of you building a personal brand, personal monopoly around yourself. And then I spoke about how you need to play long-term games with long-term people. You identify the right markets. You think a lot about areas that you want to be in. You think a lot about the first 5 years of your career that will reap great returns for you in the longer run. And then I spoke about some hard stuff that can be really useful for you if you're in your late teens or early 20s, which is around writing, building ads, building discoverable content on different platforms outside Google as well, and then learning the basics of accounting, tax, and law. A lot more, but of course, given the brevity of the event today, I would love to kind of just take a pause here. And towards the end of it, I'll be happy to answer any questions that come my way. Thank you so much again for giving me the opportunity to kind of briefly speak to your audience here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Akash. That was a smashing start. A great opening batsman. Shikhar Dhawan. Building your own brand. Obsession, learning machine. In fact, there was a survey done about 10 years back in US where they surveyed 100 millionaires, and out of that, they found 93 of them followed their passion.
There you go. There you go.
And if you talk of artists, to my mind, in our generation, the best artist I have seen is Steve Jobs.
Absolutely.
He knows
absolutely.
how to touch your heart. He knows how to touch your heart.
Absolutely.
Okay, the way he designs.
I really agree with that thought so much. So I think when I say artist, I don't mean to say somebody with a paintbrush. My desk is my palette, and this pen is essentially my paintbrush. So artists in different forms, like Virat Kohli is an artist. So all of these folks are artists in their own right. So absolutely aligned with the thought that you essentially said.
So now, again, coming back to the situation where we are, the only thing that is saving us is connectivity. It's digital. While it provides a lot of opportunities, it also gives a lot of threats. The threat is on cyber. Recently, we read that the pharmaceutical companies were attacked, they were down. So all those things are creating hindrance to the growth. However, what is propelling growth is AI, artificial intelligence. Is this only your textbook? No, it's not textbook. In fact, Gartner predicts that by 2024, at least 40% of your programmers will be artificial intelligence worker. That's how it is going to embed in our life. And all those things are enabling how do we do research. How technology enables us to do research, how to collaborate across today where actually geography is history. We don't have boundaries. We work across, we collaborate across, and we have seen how this vaccine has really come up in such a so-called short time. It's all about collaborations and enabling how technology is enabling to make that happen. To discuss all those things, I will request Dr. Emmanuel Savrit to kindly take on the stage. Dr. Savrit, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me. Last time I came to your conclave was in 2014, and I was there in person. So it's very different now through the technology. You can see it, and I can participate from London. So it's quite amazing. And thank you so much for inviting me again. So I'm going to share a little presentation about. Okay, could you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So how technology, just move something, how technology has transformed research. So what happened is, in terms of technology, let me just move something which I try to remove. Voilà. Otherwise I don't see anything. Okay, so what happened? We need to define what is technology, because since the antiquity, it's very difficult to define what it was, and everyone has been trying to understand what is technology. In the 18th century, the Germans started to refer to technology as a form of elite systematic knowledge. And funny enough, I'm going back to the previous conversation and talk, is actually in the 20th century, technology was seen as a science of the industrial arts. So we're going back to art again. So today, technology encompasses so many different aspects. So engineering, digital, and artificial intelligence. So technology is part of everything: communication, medical, healthcare, digital, robotics, artificial intelligence, information technology, and intelligence. So it's very important to define it. But what is more important is how research, support the evolution of technology. So what is research? Same thing. Research comes from the French word recherche, which means go about seeking, looking for the information. Research is used in all disciplines. One of them is technology, of course. Research uses quantitative and qualitative research methods to answer research questions related to technological product. They could be related to ergonomics, physiology, human-computer interaction, and so on. So what is changing? For the last 10 or 15 years, we had a democratization of all the technological tools, mobile, computers, tablet, whereas before those type of tools were really reserved for scientists, people working in technology, people with a lot of expertise. Now everyone has a mobile phone. Everyone can communicate with a mobile phone. So digital products now are in the center of all different businesses, as well as the social life of everybody with social media. But every business has to transform and just to move through the evolution and have to have a presence online. And especially during this time of COVID, we can really see the importance for businesses to have an online presence. So they had to shift completely in such a short period of time. Secondly, we have to move through digital and automation and try to replace human with machine. The reason why is we save cost, and also to move with automation and artificial intelligence, we limit the risk, because human, as you may know, we all make mistakes. So to reduce the risk, actually we move to the artificial intelligence and automation of machine. So what's happening with all this changing is professionals need to use sophisticated tools to do their job. So the jobs are not the same anymore. You know, they still work in medicine, but they have to have different skill set now. So I'm going to show you some examples of how this transition and how it affects actually jobs in general. So research, the evolution of research had a huge shift for the last 10 years to understand the human. Because if you want to replace human with automation, you have to understand human processes. If you want to replace human with artificial intelligence, you need to understand human cognitive and mental processes. So all those things are very important in research now, where we use psychology, we use ergonomics, we use human-computer interaction, and also how people interact with technological items. So now then you want to use a computer, we need to see how the person is going to interact with the computer. So it's very important to understand the interface to create a technological and digital product. But what is even more important is to see how people are going to interact with those products. So what is very important at the moment is understanding human behavior, perception, and motivation as well to have a great user experience with digital product. The same thing is applicable with machine, but it's more prominent with digital product. So now research has to be integrated through the whole digital product development. So before you start building a new product, a new website, a new app, a new hardware, you have to understand a pre-concept development. You need to have understanding of what it is for, what are the business needs, but also how is it going to fit with the user. So if it's for retail, you can build a product or a software. You need to understand how it's going to integrate to the life of the person which is going to use it. Same thing in the professional environment. You need to understand the needs of those professionals. What do they need to do their job? So you need to understand that. So research is very important at the early stage. And I think I would say it's even more important now to understand, because it costs quite a lot of money to build product. So to have a clear definition of what is needed at first, we save a long time and a lot of money in the long run. Then you move to the alpha phase, where you can design, you can create the content, you work with early prototyping. It could be a website, it could be an app, it could be a hardware again. And then we test it. We test, we improve, we test, we improve. That's where the research is very pragmatic and highly needed at that time. Once everything is ready, you move to the beta phase, which is going to be coding for development and building itself, the product, if it's a hardware. So the beta, you develop. It's really the core. It's with real data. It's real coding. And then you test it. You still do this test, improve, but that would be more for the front end for a digital product, or would be more for the aesthetic for hardware. You still test, improve, and then you move to release. And when your product is released, you still need to monitor how your product is doing. So research is still there. We monitor the analytics, we try to get customer feedback. So it's how it works. Same thing happened with artificial intelligence. You need to discover how the human is working. and start creating some experiment with the alpha stage until it's ready and you're happy with your algorithm, and then you can release them to replace the human. So that the integration of research now is fundamental. If people are not doing it, they are going to miss out on so many input which could be imported from research. So technology and research in context and how it impacts on jobs at the moment. I'll give you a few examples. Healthcare. Technology is replacing surgeon, for example, to be more precise. So they built, not only robotic to do the surgery, but also the surgeon now need to use a software to use those robotics, which is going to be more precise than the hand of a surgeon. So we had a big shift. So understanding the research was to understand what was needed to perform the surgery, and also what is needed for the surgeon actually to manipulate the tool. So we look at how to perform a surgery and how the surgeon is going to interact with the technology. Then defense, you look in defense, equipment has improved dramatically. I will give you the example of a drone. You don't have to send the person anymore in a plane. They can just do, they can just manipulate the drone from a different place. They can be in the office and they can do the command remotely. That's completely is very new and it's working very well now. It's just much better you risk less lives. It's very different, and actually the drone can work much longer. You've got the satellite to provide imagery of the ground, which we did, and you can be more and more precise. So today, the research in defense help to understand functionality as well as how soldiers interact with digital interface, and allow to command and to be even more precise. In finance, same thing. Before, most traders were doing their trade over the phone. Now it's sophisticated with financial platform where they've got so many screens used by the traders, the analysts, and the investment banker to perform their daily job. Research today help to understand how we could use machine learning and artificial intelligence to replace the human, to limit the human error, and to anticipate the trends. So soon, the traders, they won't exist anymore, because actually the machine is going to anticipate when they need to sell or buy, anything in the stock market. Social media, people interact with their mobile devices. They use social media, chat, timeline, video, images. The research in social media help to understand how people interact with social media and how to make them, the social media embedded to their ecosystem. So we are all on the phone all the time. We just do everything through our phone. We can communicate, we buy, and we can do all the marketing around all the social media is huge. It's what generates money for Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn, all those companies. E-commerce, of course, today more and more business need an online presence, and shops from micro to large organization have website, B2C, B2B offer online transaction, and actually to make it, easy to use and user experience is fundamental for the transaction. So also there is a lot of research at the moment to anticipate how people are going to buy something. So all this work around e-commerce. E-government, same thing again, in order to make a government service accessible to everyone and to reduce the cost. Look at the British government with the gov.uk, make all the government platform are accessible for everybody to do all their transactions online. And finally, education. Classroom tools have changed, computer, tablet, and used more and more by professor and student. But what is very important now is the online learning, which actually make learning accessible to everybody, even if they are not physically there, which is a great democratization of learning. So if you want more, the research now, it's understanding human process, replacing human, improving the user experience. Research in technology is pragmatic, reduce the cost, optimize process, and limit the risk. And we have to work very quickly and agile. So thank you. And if you want more information to how to integrate user research to your product development, this is my book, Practical User Research, which is available on Amazon and Apress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Savit, for such an insightful presentation. Traders won't exist. So jobs will be redefined.
Yeah, all the job are redefined. Actually, even the research, we do research. Before we used to do a lot of research in person. I do a lot on online. We've got new tools, but all the job you can see now, a surgeon, they have to be very good with technology. Researcher will work as actually in immunology. They have to build their own algorithm to test, their hypothesis. So it's applicable to all the jobs. Yeah. So, training the new generation to be, digital will provide them, jobs for sure.
Drone. Example of drones in farming. It's very effectively used in farming in many countries. So there are so many applications of these technologies that is changing human lives. One of the questions is that, again, coming back to the first thing that you said, the problem statement has to be very clear when we start any research. How many times, sir, is it so clear? In your experience, you can say that when you start a research, is the problem statement so clear, or it develops during the part of the research?
So what's happened is at the beginning, company, they don't sometimes realize we have to do the research at the beginning because they don't know, and we're just here to refine.
Yes.
Because we ask questions. So we ask our clients and stakeholders, so what do you want to solve? What do you try to achieve? And then from them, we can they answer all those questions, and we try to really shape what they really want to achieve. And that's why it's very important from the beginning. And we can test and see what the users are going to say, what are the current data. And we use, analytics, we use the data science, we use everything which is at our disposal to understand the situation before you start building something.
Yeah, I can keep on going and asking questions and questions. There's no end to it. The next speaker is Mr. Simarpreet Singh. It is forecasted that by 2026, 75% of the books will be replaced by digital content. How do you scale up? How do you provide so much of education? Again, one of the challenges, especially in India, people are facing is that access to laptops, tablets and others. In fact, as we speak, yesterday the government has provided a scheme whereby they will be providing tablets to students. The question, Simarpreet, is that how do you scale up and how do you reach the masses in these connected digital learning? Yes, Simarpreet, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank the BCCI for calling me out today and letting me give my opinions today. And we had two of the very good speakers today, and so it was very difficult to talk after the two speakers. So coming to your question, sir, how do you scale up? We have to understand many things are involved in this, which are not in the hands of an individual like us. For internet connection, which is there in India. There are many smartphone users in India, but internet connection, the per usage internet is still low compared to other countries. So as and when the government increases their spending, their reach, so it will take time, but I'm sure it's going to happen. And the question that by 2026, 75% of the books will be replaced by online. If you take the current scenario, there's all the books there are no books right now, but the education is still going on. Like we are running a campus without any books. We are giving online content. So I don't think 2026 is too far. We are already living that thing right now. And pandemic has obviously the main reason for it. If you compare pre-COVID and post-COVID, the mindset is the main thing which has changed for everyone. Like, for example, we have been advocating flipped learning and started flipped learning way back in 2015 and 2016. And we were the first engineering institution to start flipped learning, and we were endorsed by AICTE and World Bank. But when the pandemic happened, we saw that the institutions of our group, which were no learning experience of flipped learning, they did better than the institution which were doing flipped learning. So the mindset is very important in today's time. As Mr. Akshay also said, the master, you have to master the fundamentals, rest will take care of its own. Today technology, maybe AI, blockchain, virtual reality, whatever. Tomorrow something else will come, but the basic skill has to be there so that we learn, unlearn, and again learn and again unlearn. So I'll take example of myself. I'm a finance person by qualification, but after entering the group, I have not done finance at all. Everything except finance I have done, like administration, marketing, HR, even HR, law, legal portion. So very important that you mindset should be clear that whatever has to be done should be done. And so what we are very traditional setup, so we are bounded by regulations, government. So what we have done, we have partnered with edtech companies in daily processes of our system. We call it A square, admission to alumni. So right from admission to alumni, whatever things are involved in our scheme of activities, we have partnered with some institutions, some edtech companies, or we create our own platform. Like admission, the payment gateway has been tied up with Citrus, PU, then chatbots are there. Then for alumni, we have created our own software. The LMS is there, the learning management system, where we have created a depository of all the resources, all the online resources, and student as per the convenience can see it, but they can only see it till the portion where the syllabus has been covered. So till today, if 70% syllabus has been covered, they can only see that. And after that, they can see when as the system goes in. And there's a lot of gamification and AI involved in this. For example, if a student in a batch of 60, all of them can't be at the same level. So the top 10 who are at the A level, they get different questions to answer and different type of projects to solve. And the other one, our first target is to make them reach to the A level, then we give them the advanced level. So this is how technology has evolved and we have been implementing in our group. And there was a lot of, if anybody aware, a lot of hue and cry about examinations in pandemic period. So we have few autonomous institutions under group. So we have easily done the proctor examination with no issues. There were some lacks in the problem, but there was nothing major. We did it for almost 10,000 students without any issue. So this is how technology has created more transparency in our system. Then admission, be it placement, virtual hub. We never thought virtual visit will be possible actually. So in pandemic, we have done virtual visits where not using AI, not even virtual reality, but actually the person has showed that this is a plan, this is how everything happens. So this was not something which you thought is possible, but technology had made it possible. And funny thing is that education still not considered essential in our during COVID period. So still the campus is still shut. Maybe in December they will open. So their technology had to be used because all other stuff had alternative. Even there were few trains running, few flights running, but education campus were fully shut. So technology had to be used, and we have seen many challenges of security in Zoom. So what we did, what our students and I've mentored, they created their own platform, a DJ Conclave, and we're using it for our own system. And the beauty of it that it's under our cloud, so security issue is taken care of, and it uses a very low bandwidth. So those people who have issues of bandwidth, we use a low bandwidth, and there's option of podcast available. So you can actually call and hear the recording. Not nearly have to use internet for it. So this is how technology has evolved, and we are very clear that technology has to be there, because without technology, the exponential growth does not happen. So if you have to reach to masses, technology has to be there. So that is how we categorically divide into many sections, and we partner with many edtech companies and been doing so far. This is it from my side.
One other question from the audience is that how inclusive edtech can be for specially able children, like speech or your blindness. So how can edtech will help them? Are you using it some way to enable them?
We are on the way of process of doing it. It's a challenge. We agree that the challenge for the specially able students, but right now we don't have the solution for it. But we are figuring out what to do. Like the audio portion can be done for now, Those who can't see, we have created the audio podcast so they can see. But I agree, there are challenges in the IT software right now, as of now.
Okay, another question, placement. Now, is COVID a boom for that? Because placement is basically many times physical. Now that it is virtual, I think you can bring a lot of students to participate in that, in these trainings and others. What is your experience in placement?
Placement has been a mixed bag for us. For IT-related courses, we have seen the placement improved because technology has made it possible of virtual joining. But for those courses where practical you have to be present, like civil, mechanical, the placement has been delayed naturally because everything was shut and thing. So, but if you see the long-term prospect, the more technology is there in future, the more jobs will be created, as for me. Because if you see digital marketing, it creates a lot of job, content writer, SEO specialist, graphic designer, Facebook ad, whatever it is. Technology will eventually create more jobs, but not necessarily the areas that we are familiar with right now. So it's short term, it is a challenge, but I'm sure future it will be fine.
Okay, now it's the question to all the panelists. Future capacity, what are the typical areas that you are forcing in the set where the job roles and the need will be much more post-COVID? It's Dr. Savarit, Akshay, Sivanpreet, anybody can answer that. I'd like to understand from all of you.
Well, I can start and take that partly. I think, like I said, in conjoining with the idea that I had kind of floated out before, it's going to be in areas which are going to be more. So I'll just borrow something from what Dr. Savrat said, right? Like, and what you also mentioned, sir. AI definitely is on the rise, and it's not just AI, right? It's a bunch of things which are automating things for good. Which also means that if you want to be relevant in the future, you need to be creating unique skills, which essentially can't be replicable in a machine. Which means that you want to be talking about more softer aspects. You want to be talking about more things that need your heart and the brain, and don't necessarily need your X number of hours to be spent in front of a screen, or X number of hours doing X for whatever in an office capacity. So I think the future jobs, like I said, in my understanding, is going to be first and foremost related to consumer psychology. The person who understands consumer psychology the best, they are the folks who are going to build the best advertisements. They are the folks who are going to be the best at sales. They are the folks who are going to start great companies. And if you really understand consumer psychology, you'll also be able to understand the psychology of people that you want to bring on board and you want to build great companies. So my number one focus area for anybody I advise going out in the future is that be masters in psychology, and I think everything else will start falling into place. You need to understand what the other person wants to hear. You need to understand the perception of the long-term impact of something that you want to sell is what that impact is. What the impact of that thing is going to be, not on just that person but their family. Are they going to come back for a repurchase? And the more we do this via research, so I think research is going to be relevant. The more we do this via surveys, the more we do this via multiple studies where using technology or otherwise, we're able to understand the consumer sentiment, we're able to understand the consumer's evolving mindset, I think the more successful somebody will be. So that's one from my side.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's psychology, but my background is in psychology, and so I totally agree with you. And I think it's a very good skill set in psychology because you understand human, you understand the cognitive processes, you understand the social aspect of it. And I think it's a very good foundation to move to all those digital new position. Like research at the moment is booming. When you look on LinkedIn in the UK, it's crazy. You know, they just look for researcher all different level, from junior all the way to a very experienced one, because they can really see then psychologists can really bring a lot into the research because we've got the research skills. So definitely researchers and psychology with psychological background, I think it's very important. Also design, more and more people need to work in design and also in user experience design. So UX design is very important to make sure that the product are easy to use and for every customer. And the third one is development engineering. We need people to code. that's without the code, without the engineers, we can try and draw everything and do all the research we want. We need the people to execute all the finding from the research and the design and the UX. So yes, engineering, and it should be open not only to men. Engineering and coding should be also for women. And I think I would be a big advocate to push young girls to learn to code, but they will have so many jobs in the future.
So what I hear is design thinking.
Yeah, design thinking. So everything related to design will be service design, design thinking, and the research really work with them. So what we say UX research, we work with them. But the design thinking is understanding which design would be best to incorporate to the life of the person which is going to use it.
Akshay, just to react your consumer psychology, again, I will try to quote Steve Jobs. He said, never ask a consumer what he wants because he doesn't know.
Yeah, but observe the user using it. It's very different.
Yes,
absolutely. So you need to be prepared for, if you understand the need really well, that's when you create an iPhone, because you know that you're looking for something like that.
Absolutely. You should know where the shoe pinches actually. Simanpreet, anything from your side?
No, the main points have been covered. I was also about to say that critical thinking is an important tool set for today's thinking. It's all been covered. So be it anything, the mind is very important. We have to be better than machines. If you see the videos nowadays, even computers are playing poker better than humans. So things are changing at a very fast pace. So mindset is very important. So be it any field.
Like I said, I'll just go back and say one more thing. I'll just go back to what I said in my first few minutes. I think even as long as you pick up one thing and you become the best at it, I think that's totally. If you think of, I've been absolutely overwhelmed by the rise of YouTube stars in the last couple of years, and most of them are now household names. They're making crores of rupees every single month, right? And essentially they have big production banners now working with them. They're essentially promoting movies and whatnot. And this is a trend across Hollywood, Bollywood, Europe, everywhere. They're promoting food brands. They're essentially the whole big influencer culture, right? So I think if you're really good at expressing your thoughts with enough clarity out there on the internet, and you create the right distribution alongside it, I think you will never be like hungry. I think you're all making money. So I would put a lot of value on creating your uniqueness as you move forward.
How do we replicate creativity?
I don't think you replicate creativity. I think creativity is unique, and that will be the intersection of your own different interests, what you do in personal life. If you're playing golf versus playing cricket versus watching a television series versus reading something. So all of those things which are very unique to you are going to come together and lead into a thought. But being aware that these 4 different things are happening and I need to be aware and essentially bring those thoughts together and then write them, I think that is really important. The ability to connect, the ability to very consciously think about these things and let those thoughts connect with each other, and maybe to give them some form of longevity, write them down, tweet them out. Even if the word tells you that you are mad, whatever not, kind of let that vulnerability kind of seep through and just keep writing, just keep expressing yourself. And maybe it's a YouTube video, maybe it's a TikTok video, maybe it's something out on LinkedIn. But if you just keep exposing your thoughts again and again, you're solidifying that content in your head somewhere. And that's building a cognitive ability, which will become really, really useful for you going forward, which will make you a better creativity strategist or creative thinker in some sense. At least that's my take. I'm also learning. I'm an aspiring artist and aspiring creative thinker.
It's all connecting the dots.
Correct. Absolutely.
Thank you, Akshay, Dr. Savrit, Simanpreet, for such insights. And I am sure the audience must have been benefited. At least I have learned a few more things from today's discussion and reinforce some of my thoughts that I had. And I really appreciate you taking your time and attending this platform. Thanks, Eta.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Mr. Sanjay, Mr. Akshay Chaturvedi, Dr. Emmanuel Severit, and Mr. Simarpreet Singh. We had a great session. We will take a short break looking at a chamber video, and we will come back at 6:05 with our session on digital economy and its dynamics. And with this, I would also like to thank our sponsors with whose support we couldn't have done this event. Our diamond sponsor MB, our gold sponsor PwC, our silver sponsor Infinity NextGen and JIS, who's also our chief patron, our bronze sponsor CESC, Dr. Reddy's Lab, EasyRex, Mazars, and our special thanks to Government of West Bengal's IT and E department and Webel. So join us back at 6:05 for the digital economy and its dynamics. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are all products of our time. Never perhaps such words collectively